that each department was doing procurement separately.
Thank you, Chair.
Less than 3 million, but when you aggregate, then it becomes very big.
So now what we would have loved to see was just to see the list of LPOs that were issued in respect of each department with amounts indicating that the threshold of 3 million was actually met by all, and if you aggregate them, then you arrive at the total figure. That could have made a lot of sense. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I have a problem with your indulgence. So when you saw this advert for the procurement of fuel, oil and lubricants, it was one consolidated tender as per your observation, because in your certificate you have raised that when it is below 3 million, you can request through quotation, but when it is above, of course, you table. So when you were auditing, this was a consolidated tender?
No, it was not a consolidated tender.
Then why were you arguing that they procure beyond the threshold of request for quotation through the chair of 3 million?
Thank you, Chair. The audit observation was that if you look at the total fuel consumption, which is 67 million,
correct,
that amount is huge. And if you are to do an open tender, then it is more efficient to manage because it can be controlled from a central point in terms of management and accountability. Thank you, Chair.
So finally, Chair, I've seen the governor has indicated, given detail, but you have seen steps taken is now for open tender process for the supply. Governor, what was the reasoning of segregating these tenders and ensuring, we saw yesterday in Wajir that there was 1.9, 1.9. So why were you segregating to 3 million through your person? Why were you segregating? What is the justification? Because 67 million segregating into 3 million each, it will appear as Kambas and Malamsa. Or does it mean the access to fuel and lubricants in Lamu is a big problem?
Yes, Governor.
Chair, I think this was for efficiency in operations. You have, we have like the Department of Health. We have level 4 hospitals, King Fahd, Pfizer Hospital, and Peketoni Hospital, each having their peculiar requirement for fuel. So for efficiency, we allowed the departments to procure.
Chair, just Governor, sorry for taking you, but I know we are rushing against time. If today you give this opportunity to, for example, Shell or Rubis or Starbucks or whichever, or Starbucks or Rubis or Shell or Total, I thought when you give tender, if there is a Shell that is next to King Fahd, they get their service there. Or you don't have maybe the senator, or you don't have a petrol station, for example, that is prominent within Lamu County, or a company that is prominent.
Not really. The geography is a challenge.
Yes, Treasury.
Yes.
Chair, maybe if I may understand the transaction, is that the county entities were procuring fuel, but the problem is they were not marked such that now the aggregated figure is reflected in the executive. I think that is my understanding. Such that now the individual entities were procuring on their own, but it is reflected in the larger county.
That is how I've understood it also.
That is how I understand it. Because as the audit is saying is that they just saw the aggregated figure, which now they could not establish the source of that figure. That's why the audit is requesting for the individual quotations from if really it was done in the county entities. Now the individual entity, the respective quotations can clarify the whole amount of the 50 plus million. I think that is my understanding.
No, the auditor made that finding, and the executive was supposed to explain. I don't know if you explained that during the time of audit. And if you did, then there must have been something that compelled the auditor still to escalate the issue up to this point. Auditor.
In addition to what you are saying, I thought also if governor is referring to some hospitals, I thought under the FIF Act they are supposed to generate their own financial statements. Then why was it appearing on consolidated executive financial statements? So the auditor maybe through the chair, through the chair, auditor, maybe you can give us the wisdom, because I thought if, for example, King Fahd Hospital has its own financial statement, then it should reflect at King Fahd without a consolidated. Maybe
and they should have their own procurement.
Governor, we are assisting you.
Yeah, no, Chair, I just want to clarify. Even with FIF, it's not enough. So the county executive supports the entities. We don't collect enough.
No, that's not the point.
Yeah.
That is not the point. The point is procurement at the entity level. They are allowed to have procurement officers.
Yes, they do that.
And so if they are purchasing oil and lubricants less than 3 million, then they are allowed to do procurement at that level. But then that global figure, when it comes to the financial statements, it comes to 60 million. And that's what the auditor is querying. So, I don't know, I think I've understood it. But then steps taken to mitigate, they are saying that now they have an open tender process, which then would do the tendering for all the entities, I believe. So much so that if a particular hospital requires oil and lubricants, then they would request to be supplied by the
But the FIF is, you know, the hospitals are allowed now under FIF, as you have chair, to procure on their own.
Yes.
So when they appear before peak, and I know they have appeared, those appearances will come through the financial statements of that specific
and they should be allowed
facility.
to procure competitively.
Correct, they competitively and as per the procurement laws.
Chair.
Yes.
Chair, you know, this procurement for oil and lubricants has been a major challenge for a lot of counties. And I don't know why. Because I've also had my colleague here alluding to a situation where perhaps if you procure with Shell, then there's a Shell that is near a facility that is consuming the oil. I would want to understand how this central procurement would work. Because first of all, Chair, you realize that if it is a petrol station branded Shell, it does not mean that it is owned by a Shell headquarters. It's a franchise. So it's a business entity on its own, where it is. So you cannot procure centrally for Shell and then you assume that any Shell petrol station anywhere will be able to supply the entities that want to consume the oil and lubricants. So this centralized procurement for oil and lubricants, I want to understand how that will work. Perhaps for Lamu it could, because a small county of landmass, but for places like where we come from, I don't know how that would work.
And then also maybe unless we are doing for departments, you know, Department of Education would require fuel, Department of Health, Department of Lands, and each department then has a procuring entity procure on their own. Maybe let's get your words for the open tender.
And Chair, for your information, the whole of Lamu East constituency does not have a single petrol station. Even one.
Through the chair, I also want to add that.
SCC.
Thank you, Chair.
I thought you are.
I also want to add that in Lamu County, there are areas that we need to operate.
Order members, order.
In Lamu County, there are areas which we need to operate, which are in the islands. And one of the requirements for a supplier to supply fuel for Lamu, he must have a petrol station at sea. Therefore, that's also another challenge. And the basic reason as to why we procure through departments is because of that kind of uniqueness of Lamu geography. But we have had the observation of the auditor, and we are acting on it. We are procuring all the fuel. In fact, this financial year, we procured through an open tender.
So how will it work? You have many hospitals.
There are challenges.
You also have departments within the executive.
Yeah, there are challenges, but because we are guided by the law and they're insisting on it, but I just wanted some clarification and insight. Was it a breach of law to procure through a department which is mandated by law that this department can procure, and the threshold is allowable for that department to procure, and all procedures, in fact the auditor can attest to it, all procedures for procuring through threshold, 3 million were followed.
Okay, auditor, let me just hear your thinking again, then we close this issue. It's a bit interesting.
Thank you, Chair. I think what the observation was actually saying is that if you look at the total expenditure, which was 67 million, yeah? So if you break it down into 3 million, then it's like splitting the tender. You're avoiding competition. So that was the gist of the query. Yes, thank you, Chair.
We'll look at it. Okay, Governor, you want to say?
Yeah.
You can open up some other
The
things.
3 million is threshold.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that everyone is 3 million.
Yeah,
It's
I
2
understand.
million, it's 1 million.
I understand.
Meaning
Yes.
we did not exceed the threshold.
I think for us, because he looked at the global figure to make that observation, for us also we'll sit and write our report according to what will be advised by our people and also how we look at it. Members, because of time, we had said we'll end it at midday, actually some minutes to midday, so that we can start on Nairobi. I have marked the issues that we've looked at. There are issues that we've not looked at that require our attention. So, Governor, we should be able to call you back here, especially for the delayed projects and other issues on, mainly it is just delayed projects. We want to know how far the projects like the county headquarters, construction of governor's residence, further sub-county headquarters, all those we've not looked at. And also we have the issue of ROI.